about to introduce you to the world of Callimachus sapidus, which is Greek for the beautiful swimmer, or as we better know it, the Atlantic blue crab. More specifically, we will introduce you to our native Kune Cajun art of catching, cooking, cleaning, and preparation eating of these wonderful crustaceans. First, for catching for home, not commercial use, you will note the net plus the bait. More specifically, chicken necks. Chicken necks, fish heads, or other meaty materials are usable for bait. Now, I'll tell you a story. As we lived a while back on the Chesapeake, the great Chesapeake in Maryland, there were bundles and bundles of these wonderful crustaceans available in that wonderful land of the Chesapeake. However, those people there use different techniques than we use down here for catching crabs. As a matter of fact, they used what they call a freshwater or a saltwater eel that migrated into the Chesapeake, which they caught on the off-season. We who used the chicken necks were called chicken neckers. Now, unfortunately, as you may note around here, not always are you able to go ahead and catch the amount of crabs that you might want to go ahead and have for a meal. Hence, we sometimes have to resort to a secondary means, which is crabs for sale. As you will note, these are the crabs which we have purchased and which we'll be working with today to demonstrate to you how these things are actually processed. You will note that these are normally caught and sold in a hamper basket. This represents actually 24 crabs. You will also note that the two crabs that I'm holding up, the one on my right-hand side is a male, and the one on my left-hand side is a female. Note the differences on the undersides of each crab, distinguishing the species. Both crabs are equally good as far as taste is concerned. Now you will note that we're getting ready to go ahead and actually cook or prepare, boil the crabs as it might be here. You will note that there are two different pots that we use here. One is a converted beer keg, which will cook up to a whole hamper of crabs. The other is a standard pot, which we can cook the 24 crabs that I'm showing on the ground here in the hamper. Note also the propane tank and the actual gas burner, which we will use to go ahead and boil the crabs. Additionally, note some of the seasonings that are standing on top of the pot, which we'll be using in the cooking. The next slide indicates the converted beer keg, which we will not be using in this particular demonstration, but just to show you that this is a beer keg and has been converted for use in boiling crabs. The top has been cut off. This is roughly an 8-gallon beer keg, and as I said, will actually hold a whole hamper of crabs or better for boiling. Again, here are some of the seasonings and condiments used in actually cooking. There are lemons, there are celery, onions, garlic, and crab oil, which go into, and salt, which go into the actual boiling of these crabs. Now we get to the actual lighting up of the burner for the actual cook. If you'll note on the left-hand side, the water has been added to the pot, and as we go through, we'll go ahead and add the remaining condiments to this, and you will see what we actually do in bringing this to a boil. As you can now see we have this pot on, and we're starting to add the individual seasonings. The first thing we're adding is the lemon. You can see I'm squeezing the lemon, and I add the whole lemon right back into the pot as we squeeze it. Next materials we're adding are the salt and the crab boil itself. You can see that crab boil is in a pouch. It's a perforated pouch, and it's got all kinds of seasonings in it. You can see that I've already added in here the celery and the onion, which is actually floating at the surface of the pot. Now comes the crab boil, which is the concentrated crab boil. It's Zatarain's. You can get Zatarain's or Rex, but it's a concentrated crab boil. We add a little bit more of this in addition to the pouch to go ahead and give additional seasoning to the mix. And of course now finally the piece de resistance, which is the cayenne pepper, and it gives it all of the hot stuff that we really love and appreciate down in the bayou. And now finally we have the whole thing to a boil, and we're ready to add the crabs. Please note the crab that is suspended above. We're ready to add these crabs to the water. Believe me, it doesn't last very long. It's a painless death, but it's good eating. Okay, now we're ready to add the additional crabs. Please note that these are the ones that were in the hamper to start with, and we're getting ready to add the rest of those to the boiling water. Now the crabs are in the water. You can see the water has not come back to a boil, but it will shortly, and we leave these in here roughly about 10 to 12 minutes after the water has come back to a boil. After the crabs have been boiled, we generally remove them from the boiling, remove the pot from the boil and from the fire itself, and let these crabs soak in the water by adding a little chill water to that, and let them soak for 20 to 25 minutes more. As the crabs cool, the shells contract to some extent, and they soak up the seasoning and hold it a lot better. Now, as you will note, I've taken one of the claws from the crab, and I have cracked it broken along the claw level there, and have started to pull that out. And as you pull this out, a lot of times the meat will come out with that portion of the claw, and you don't have to go ahead and get into the actual shell itself. At times you'll have to break into the shell and dig out the meat from the shell that you want to go ahead and eat. As you will note, I'm showing you the recommended and most decided way of going ahead and pulling the meat off the claw if you separate it away. And Michelle, that is very, very good. Now we're going to get into the actual preparation of the crab for eating. You'll note that I have gone ahead, this is a male, I've pulled the membrane portion away, I've peeled it down, you go ahead and push that back, and that's how you start to open up the crab. Now you note, after I've done the first operation, I've pulled my hand between the shell and the body itself and started to peel the shell away from the actual crab body. At this point, we pull the shell off, and this is the body of the crab after the shell has been removed. And we will now go ahead and take the next steps, which are involved in cleaning the crab and breaking it apart and getting ready to get to the actual meaty portion. Here's where we've cleaned the crab. We've cleaned the lungs away from the sides, and we've broken the crab in half. If you'll note at this point, on either side of the break, as it's facing you, those are the meat pockets where the crab meat is all actually in there, and you have to go ahead and get in and dig that out, and that's the real good edible portion. Now here I've broken the crab in half, and I'm dealing with one half of it. The piece that I'm holding in my left hand is at this point what is called the lump. It's the piece of meat that is in the crab, which is next to the fin, swimmer fin portion, which propels the crab. It's the most delectable piece of meat in the crab, and it's usually referred to as a lump meat. Okay, now we've got some of the crab meat separated from the shells. You can see the shells are on the left-hand side. There are some crabs that have not been opened on the right-hand side. There's lump meat in the forward picture, and there's some additional meat, which is the not lump meat, which you'll use for other cooking, in the foreground. And now, can I tell you, this is the best part of the whole thing. It's there when you start to eat that sucker. And I'm telling you, that is the best meat you'll ever get in your life. And I hope you guys will get down to the bay and get yourself some crabs, and you go through this process, and you go ahead and boil yourself some crabs and sit down, monsieur, and have a good time and eat a lot.